Okay, thanks. Choppy market continues. You could see even in oil, what we talked about, even the call. It's like rally, sell off. Pretty treacherous. I think it's just going to be stuck in this range. There's definitely interest on selling it up here and buying it down here. So sometimes these patterns get more and more entrenched. Market's a little bit different. Let's start with the weekly, first day of the week, actually monthly. Why not? The spaceship launch since the crash. Got the daily kind of hanging at the highs. See if we get a buy zone. Well, the number one key is to overcome that is just kind of sticking with the system. And then once you put your trade in, put your stop in, put your target in, use an OCO, and then let the price take you out. Don't let emotion take you out. But win or lose, it just doesn't pay. There we go. See if we can get a pullback into here to get long. The numbers that came out were a little bit better than expected, so we got a little bit of bump in the dollar. That definitely weighed down crude a little bit. Dow's up 3, so we're basically unchanged. Let's see from the anatomy of a bottom. Lower low, bounce. Had this first test, second test, so let's see if it can come in here. Red bands are hooking up. Golds are still down. I think if we can get into this area, see if we can get a system trigger. We're basically back down to those same levels. One. All right, let's see here. Just go back to the 5-minute. Definitely seems to be some buying pressure. So what we want to see is, you can see how we had this big sell-off, bounce, sell-off, bounce. Can hold in this area. The second time around, it may just break above this, go to the midpoint, which is at 10. Crude's getting beat up. See if it holds in that range. I'm sure it will. That's a pretty tough candlestick. Up and then down. Tough spot. Let's go back to S&P here. Daily, it looks weaker than the NASDAQ. It's been doing that lately. 15-minute and then 5-minute. Let me look at the spread charts. S&P is way out of whack with crude oil. That's pretty interesting. Much lower than crude. See you on this test now with the Nasdaq coming in. Daily 4 hour. This is the yen. A lot stronger than the S&P. We'll see if it could drag it higher. Not yet. Slowly the Nasdaq's turning. So when I look at those higher time frames, we'll go to the 4 hour, although I think for what we're doing, I'm using even the 1 hour is probably pretty good starting spot. Uptrend, big down candle. Slight uptrend now. It's almost flattening. You could see it more up on top. The rate of change is starting to drop, so that's pretty interesting. So this is a counter trend move within the bigger uptrend. Those are the tougher trades. 15-minute, we're definitely extended to the downside, and then 5. Anywhere below 94, I'd like to start to look to buy. 94 to 90. There's that one trade we're talking about with the Bollinger Bands. You know, you get a close through it right there. Decent bounce. This one was tougher, although pretty darn close. I don't know if it closed above or not. It looks like it did. Even though that bar closed down, that's a tough trade to get long on the open of this next bar. Too close to call. Strange. We had pretty flat here, and then we start getting these bearish divergences, new slightly higher highs, and then slightly lower lows on the stochastics. That's to move lower. Now you'd like to see if we're testing here, it's lower, so we're gonna have to wait for a setup for the long side. Looks like we might push to new lows. pretty pretty much stuck in this range now. Let's see. I'm actually looking at stocks right now. Go through the list. Oil's not too hot. Oil stocks aren't looking so good. Let's look at Apple. Apple's got higher lows. Google's flat. Oracle's flat. Microsoft's flat. Pretty neutral on the stock side. You can see how the S&P went and tagged a low. NASDAQ didn't even come in. Definitely like to see the NASDAQ stronger. It's completely stuck in that range. Go to 1 minute. We'll see if there's anything there. Looks like it's starting to come around. I still want to see the gold even flatten out. See, it keeps running into trouble at that gold band. So it'll test up here. If it breaks that, then it's going to 12, which would be, kind of up in this area. Still can't get moving. S&P's looking better though. Still seems to be holding in that range. Nothing doing on the 1 minute. The Russell's really rallying pretty good. Still struggling at that band. Like to see a bigger push now. Just lots of back and forth here. Summer Mondays and Fridays are sometimes like this. Just got to keep it tight. Be patient. Wait for the market to set up. Still really not getting those gold bands. I'd like to start to see them turn. Just leave the 1 minute up. Almost seems like crude wants to break down again. So covering what some people have been talking about with regards to when you're trading, how to handle your emotions, how to be able to um, not drive yourself crazy because you really could. So the number one key is to stick with your plan. A, first you have to have a plan, right? And B, stick to it. So when the market starts to do moves, if you have a stop in or a target, it's based on, let's say, like we've used the average true range. It's a pretty simple indicator. It gives what the range can be in that time frame, and it's pretty simplistic in saying, well, if I'm gonna put a stop in, then if this candle can move 10 handles, well, I'll put my stop in at 5. So then you don't get to a point where you get in a trade. We'll go over here and look on a example where you're like, oh, I'm going to buy. It sold off, so I'm going to buy. And it starts to bounce back a little bit, and then it starts to fall apart. Like, let's look over here. It was probably right here. Sold off, you bought it. Oh, wow, wow. Then it went against you, like, oh, it'll bounce again. I was just up a little bit. And then it really starts to push down. You're like, oh, I don't know. And then it comes back here. And this is what's going on in your mind as this trade plays out. So you're long over here. You got up a little bit. Now you got down. Now it finally bounced. Now you're just frozen in fear. You're like, oh, come on, come on. And it gets back to almost break even. I've found if you've had a trade go against you and it goes break even, go, especially if it breaks big, just get out at market, wherever that price is. Don't worry about breaking even. Just if it gets close, you probably had a $300 loss. Now it's back to you're down 20, $40. Get out. Because that's what happens. You get frozen in fear, and then this move happens, and you're just toast. I mean, now you're down $500 or whatever. It's about 20, 30 points. And then typically you'll get out right here, and then now it's coming back, right? So that kind of trade will A, demolish you psychology-wise, B, just absolutely rip your heart out, as they say. When you look at it, like, I was in that trade, and then you just, so frustrating. Very frustrating in those type of trades, so you got to stay away from that. I think when you get in a trade, you have X amount of dollars to make, and once you make that, the odds of it going further than that start to drop. So why wouldn't you take it, Yeah, preparation is also very important with regards to trading, obviously. It's like anything. If you're not prepared, it's like going camping without rain gear. You're pretty much going to be soaked. Crude looks like it's starting to break down. So now we've had that move. The band is actually starting to turn. That's why the 1 minute it turns quicker. We did get to that midpoint on the 5 minute. Now we'll see it back and fill and then see if it's a real turn. Lately, it's just rally right back up, so it wouldn't shock me. See if crude holds in here. And there goes the more aggressive bounce. Let's even get to 2110 on S&P and 4520. Well, I would say if you're using OCOs and you're having issues with the emotion of the movement of the particular trading vehicle that you're in, you're almost best to just walk away for 5-10 minutes. Come back, see where the market is. If you didn't get stopped out or you didn't hit your profit target, it's you start to understand that all that mental emotional capital that gets wasted by following every tick, like, oh my God, it's going up, I'm winning. Oh no, it's going up. If you do that and follow every emotional tick like that, you're seriously gonna have they're gonna put you in a straitjacket and send you away. So you really have to just, I think it's a good tool to walk away and to understand that the market's moving, it's doing whatever, you've got your stop in, you've got your target, you walk away, and by you not staring at that screen and feeling the emotion of every tick didn't mean it doesn't happen. And it's, so when you walk away, you don't have that emotional feeling. You come back and you're like, oh wow. A lot of times what happens, you come back, it's the same price. So if you're not watching it, the price action can occur, and it just doesn't matter what your emotions are. It's not going to change the outcome of what the price action is. And once you get that kind of figured out, then you'll and you'd be like, oh wow, so if I will this thing to go higher and it doesn't go higher, it just doesn't. It's not worth your effort. It went here, did this, I got in, this is my stop, this is my target. It's unemotional. What I feel emotionally will not affect the outcome. And so you're going to learn pretty quickly that it's just, you might as why waste your time and your mental capital. That's how I look at it. Yeah, mental energy. You got to realize you have to make yourself pretty bulletproof. Oil's getting really beat up. Let me look at the oil. It's funny how the oil stocks were definitely lagging too. It's just a very huge dollar move right now. Let's pull up the yen. US dollar is just screaming higher. Let's look for support areas on crude. It's a way far down. Looks like it's going at 58.90. Let's see if there's any news. I'd like to see some of these oil stocks start to bounce. Maybe that'll get a bottoming pattern for crude oil. We shall see. Both Exxon and Chevron at their lows. Now we'll see if we get a bounce. In crude. Lower low, bounce, test. You need to take out this. Get you to here. I can see it hold at 37. See, it's 42. That's a couple ticks. So it's add 3 ticks to the futures. Wow. I guess it's still down on the gold there, so it's actually a sell on the NASDAQ. All right. Let's look back at oil, bottom, drifting. Let's go back to 5, 15. I think on the S&P and NASDAQ, they're going to be stuck in this range now, probably between the bands. A lot of news this week, no catalysts right now, so kind of a mixed bag on the numbers, some better, some worse. So we'll have to see. All right, let's go to 1 minute. So you could see when it actually broke out there and then that failed. So that's just the tiredness of the market fighting against that next higher trend. Really, it's flat on the 15 minutes, so most likely it'll be pretty choppy. But as this trend starts to exert itself on the 1 hour and the 4 hour, that's where you get, there's different types of trades. There's bottoming patterns, so you make a lower low, and then the bigger rally. And then there's just basically raw trending. So when you look at I'm gonna try and find a chart that's like that. Really can't find one right now. This is probably a good, a pullback, a rally, a mild pullback, a rally, pullback, rally. That's the kind of trending uptrend market that's a different type of trade. Then this would be considered knife catching, as we call it. So I would assume now then it should get up into this area. That was that 42.20 I was talking about. Apple seems okay. Amazon. Google. Google's flat lately. You could see how the rally is struggling because it's still fighting this 5-minute trend, downtrend. And then typically what happens is you get that pop where what's the higher time frame traders? Usually the higher the time frame, the bigger the trader. So once they, this is scalpers over here. So if you're short and you're giving up, especially if it broke out above here, you'll get a bigger boost up to here. Looking at the rest of the day, like I said, there's a lot of news this week, so there's going to be positioning, end of day kind of stuff. The longer term guys are looking at these numbers coming decent. Then we've had these sell-offs, but now we've got all these. This is a daily chart. We've got all these higher lows. Same on the 4 hour. Anytime there's sell-offs, it's eagerly bought. Yeah, we've had our little down moves, but you could still see higher lows, uptrending. So any of these numbers come in decent. I definitely think that there's a breakout rally potential. The problem is if they come in really, really better than expected, then that's fear of rate hikes. So it's kind of like you need the old Goldilocks numbers again. At least you need numbers that are starting to turn or not going down as much, and then at the same time you need numbers that are, let's see here, that are not too strong. Gets quiet pretty quick. You look at this 1 minute. See if you can get a push back up to here. 20. Here's 20. That's the top band on the 5 minute, and here that area is right here on the 1 minute. The midpoint is actually 19 right now, so a little bit undervalued on the 1 minute, but 11:30 Eastern, it's already slowing down. Let's see the closing areas. 26. Looks like it can close around 17 on the NASDAQ. Maybe do a little downside test and then rally in the afternoon would be my statistical positive probability. I'll put the 15 back up. Super flat. If anyone has any questions, you could either, the Skype is dave.mtg trading. Or you could even throw it up in the room, preferably now or soon. Crew's looking like another leg lower. NASDAQ too, it looks like. Super choppy. All right, we'll see you in the wrap-up call. Thanks. Like I said, any questions, the Skype, dave.mtg trading, you're doing a search. All right, thanks a lot.